few months ago, James Gray, contacted my agent, and I read it, and I thought it was intriguing about a family in this part of America, and I said I'd love to do it. I really would like to do it, and I'd seen quite a number of James Gray's films, and I think there are so many layers within those family films, and he's a very clever director, very precise director, but also very free to work with. And we set up an email correspondence, to play a Jewish grandfather. So I had to refigure a few things because I can't do a sort of Brooklyn accent or New York accent. I think I know some English actors are good at that. I'm not good at that. And actually trying to learn a dialect is like having an extra thumb or an extra leg, gets in the way. So I created a little biography which I submitted to him, that I'd come from Central Europe as a 9-year-old kid and the last big intake at Ellis Island, the Great Migration started from Central Europe, the pogroms, and all kinds of people came here, all Eastern Europe, and there were the vicious pogroms in Russia and the Ukraine, and Jews were persecuted. And so it was a wonderful opportunity, and an incredible cast to work with. Really quite extraordinary. So I'm very pleased to be here. And James is a wonderful director. Well, yes, it is very personal because it's his story. So I don't know what he feels about my reinventing his grandfather. But we swapped stories about my grandparents, my grandfather, and the habits of, grandparents and their young grandchildren. I made sure that I knew all the scenes before we started, and what I was really pleased with was the way he allows you to not rewrite, but to improvise within the structure. I'm all for the structure. Learn your lines, show up, and know your stuff, know the text, and then you're free to improvise within that. And he seems to like that style, because without knowledge of the script, knowledge of the text, you're blind. You have to know the stuff. A lot of actors have other methods of working. Mine is to simply know the text so well, like following a roadmap. And that's what it was like working with James, and then working with astonishing people, Anne Hathaway and Jeremy Strong and Tove Felter, everyone, just quite remarkable. And that makes it so easy. I thought it would be quite a challenge, and I'm very caught up in my particular affinity to Jewish culture is close, because I remember during the war, just after the war, I was a 7-year-old boy, and I remember the newsreel films of the release of the prisoners from the various concentration camps. So that was a very part of my childhood consciousness. I mean, I was born in Wales, where we didn't suffer the horrors that they did, but I remember that so clearly. And then I was in Jerusalem in 1973, and I went to Yad Vashem. So I was fascinated by that part of our terrible human history. And I think a lot of people have forgotten that. And I remember it so clearly. And if it's anything, it's my contribution or small tribute to the pain in the world. Why do we have that? How did Hitler rise to power? Why do we persecute? What's the matter with us? And we're all capable of it. And that particular part of history is very painful to read. But then it follows right through the 20th century, the bloodiest of all centuries. Stalin in Russia, Mao Zedong in China, millions of people sacrificed for an ideology or for the wrong thinking. Very much like Orwell's Utopia, 1984. And that happens in our history time and time again. It rises up and then it fades away. So I'm drawn to that part of history. Anyway. The boy is a little strange. He's a little lost. He wants to be an artist, and his father and mother typically say, well, there's no money in that, the big buckaroos. And that's understandable. Parents would worry. I mean, a boy wanting to be an actor or an artist, I mean, come on. And I went through that myself when I was a kid. My father being an actor. Okay, well, and I think all kids suffer that. And but I'm there to encourage him, as my grandfather was there with me. He said, don't worry, you'll do fine. Because my parents always, what's going to happen to you because I'm not very good at school. My grandfather said, you do okay, you'll do fine. And I look back and I think, well, we did okay, kid. And my job, my interpretation there, or my objective, let's say, is to encourage the boy. Think big. Fulfill your dreams, make the world a better place, because we're all trudging through this great battle of life. And I warned him, this one scene we did yesterday, to watch out for the bigots and the insidious racism that's in, the fictional school, but in his school. And I warned him, I said, don't you ever forget. Don't ever put up with that, And so that's my farewell to him. Think big, be kind, and be compassionate. And remember, you're human. Don't try to be perfect. Do the best you can, but do not put up with bigotry and racism and all that. So I'm not saying this to make a big political message, but that's what the part is, really. I picked up on all that through my years of growing up. I worked with some very close friends, my Jewish actors, and friends in Los Angeles. And I've been part of a Jewish family, been invited in, And I find it amusing and funny because there's always drama and love and all that. And I come from a Welsh family, which is different, And I'm not an Anglo-Saxon, I'm Welsh. There's not much difference, I guess, but... So being part of this typical family that we have been in the last few weeks in this film, or the last 2 weeks, at the dining table, and the arguments and the two bad kids, and the father laying down the law, and the upheaval, very much like Seinfeld. So I'm a great fan of Seinfeld, but so that's why I'm proud to be part of this. She is remarkable and so generous and kind and human and, feet on the ground and all that stuff. None of that, airy stuff that some people get up to in this business. God bless them. But she's very, very practical and friendly and chatty. And we had a lot of chats together. And Tova Felcher and Jeremy. And very, very good. Excellent.